speeches, some of my friends and colleagues said I need to beatbox or something. I've just been blown away, honestly. I just want to congratulate all the fellow honorees tonight. Let's give them another round of applause. I'm so honored to be here with you all to celebrate tonight. I want to thank the St. Paul Foundation, Colleen Rhodes and Rosa Shiplander in particular for their work in making this award ceremony possible. I want to thank also Bill and Jean Keats from the Brotherhood Inc. Board for nominating me for this award. They themselves are on the front lines fighting for racial justice. I want to thank the board members of Brotherhood Inc. and the young men who are part of Brotherhood Inc. They help motivate me to keep going, hearing their stories and the things that they go through in the community. I want to thank all my colleagues at the University of St. Thomas Law School, as well as my current law students and former law students who are present here today. I want to thank all the community members who came out, including my Facebook friends and fellow freedom fighters. I love when Facebook friends become real friends, and that happens to me a lot, believe it or not. I also want to thank Nathaniel Kalik and Vicki Davis, because when I first moved to the state of Minnesota in 2003, I felt a calling to go into civil rights work in the community, and I didn't know who to call. But I had read about the work of Nathaniel Kalik when he was the president of the St. Paul NAACP. So I reached out to him and asked if he would meet with me. And when I walked in the coffee shop, he was surprised. He was expecting an older white woman because of, Levy being a part of my name, but he got me. And we talked for about 4 hours. I said, tell me about the issues that are impacting the African American community. And at the end of that conversation, I said, I want to start a civil rights clinic that begins to address these issues. And literally the rest is history. It's a blessing to work under mentors who can see your value, and they are not discriminating against you because of your race, because of your gender, because of your age. Because they when I first started. And so them taking me under their wings has made a huge difference in helping me to learn the ropes in this work. I'd also like to thank my husband and children for all of their support, because I have a lot of late nights in this work, a lot of time that's spent in this work, and they are there with me every step of the way. Finally, I just want to say a few words. As Justin mentioned, I am a woman of faith, and I do this work because of my faith. God is the one who empowers me to come back to the front lines again and again, even when I want to give up. And he sends people like you all to encourage me and others who are standing on the front lines fighting for justice, and that makes all the difference. I will say that back in November, I visited Ferguson, Missouri, and that was a life-changing experience. It was during the week of Thanksgiving. My first night in Ferguson, I was actually tear-gassed, even though I was there as a legal observer through the National Lawyers Guild. And that was an eye-opening experience. As a scholar, I had written about the war on drugs and the militarization of our police forces. It's another thing to actually experience those issues up close and personal. So even though I had that experience of being tear-gassed, one of the things that was most powerful and impactful for me to see were the young people who were right beside me being tear-gassed, and who, after the tear gas wore off, dusted themselves off and got right back on the front lines fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. Most of them were nonviolent, peaceful protesters, marching through the streets even on Thanksgiving Day. I could not believe it. After I returned back from Ferguson, I was approached by young people about being involved in our local Black Lives Matter movement, and it was a no-brainer. Prior to my trip to Ferguson, I thought that I was an activist. However, after that experience, I realized perhaps I'm an armchair activist. So when they approached me about shutting down the 35W, that was a no-brainer, believe it or not. And then when they talked about having a demonstration at the Mall of America. Again, a no-brainer. We know that Mall of America is a corporate giant in the state of Minnesota. We know that there have been issues with racial profiling at Mall of America. We know that it's one of the most visible places in the country. And so we decided to show up 3,000 strong, people from all walks of life, babies all the way to the elderly. And on December 20th, we stood in that rotunda and we declared that Black Lives Matter. And they do matter. And if I had to do it all over again, I would. Because it's important for us to bring attention to issues that are affecting those who are on the margins of society. That was our whole reason for starting Brotherhood, Inc. We started with the vision back in 2007, back before there was My Brother's Keeper, back before people were even concerned about what was happening to young African American men. As we began to look at the statistics, we said, how can this be? Why are our young men falling through the cracks? Why are they coming into contact with police day in and day out? Why are they being relegated to the revolving door of the criminal justice system and no one seems to care? Why are they cycling in and out of homelessness and no one seems to care? So we said we have to do something about this. And one of the things we started to do was to look around the country to see what other people were doing to address this issue. We found a program called Homeboy Industries out of Los Angeles, founded by Father Greg Boyle, who for 25 years has been working with people with criminal histories and people who are leaving the gang life. And we said we need to bring that program here to the Twin Cities of Minnesota. And today, on a shoestring, grassroots budget, we employ 20 young African American men. And who are able to demonstrate, yes, their Black lives do matter. They matter in our society. So all of us have to understand that there are those who are on the fringes. There are those who are being marginalized. There are those who are being disempowered. And we have to recognize that we live in a state in which their plight is often hidden. As I said to Governor Dayton in 2011, we live in two Minnesotas. One black, one white, both separate and unequal. And we can see evidence of this when we look across the board at key indicators of quality of life, where we see white people seemingly enjoying their life in Minnesota, not having one home, but even a cabin. And meanwhile, people of color are struggling to even pay their rent in an apartment. That ain't right. We have to change what's happening in our state. And for those who may be blind to what's going on, we need to recognize that we are Ferguson, that we are Cleveland, that we are New York, and we are Baltimore. We just don't know it yet. We have to be like Gandhi said and be the change that we want to see in this world. It's going to take each and every one of us to face race with courage, to be willing to get uncomfortable, to be willing to shake things up, to be willing to dismantle systems of oppression until every person in our community, every person in our state, and every person in our nation matters for who they are. Thank you.